Welcome back to Double Dose. I'm your host, Dipesh.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And we're here to take you from Earth to a global pandemic. Because your boy's got COVID.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode this week. For those who are listening, you probably won't notice much. But for those who... audio. No, I've fixed it. So that audio? Okay, Daniel's it's fixed. It's fixed. You will sound amazing, trust me. But for those of you watching, you can see that we are on camera and like on webcam, and we're in different locations because the boy Dipesh has got COVID. Now he's infecting the rest of the world.
Yay! And we don't have our little caster, so I can't hit my little applause button. But yay!
We'll add that in.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll add that in a little post. But man, how are you? How you been?
I'm okay. I am totally fine. But the boy is not fine.
No, I'm on the mend. I'm alright. I'm okay. It's been interesting, but the reason for my catching it, I'm sure, was because of a few concerts that I went to a little over a week ago. I went to see The Strokes and I went to see Tyler, the Creator. Both great shows. So
yep.
Yeah, you know what? It was worth it if you look at it in hindsight.
Which do you think was better?
Oh, that's tough. They're such different acts. I mean, like The Strokes, I've always wanted to see. They got such a extensive catalog. I mean, I guess both of them do, but The Strokes, they've been in the game for a very, very long time. And
so it's Julian Casablancas. He actually was there.
He was there, dude. He was.
Did he feel cooked?
Drunk? Yeah.
Nah, man. He's fucking.
He was sick though. Like they did like 3 little interludes, and you can imagine they had to do it because I can imagine playing those songs live is very boring for them after this many years in the game, especially all the hits. So they did these sick interludes where they'll just like maybe like try something new, a new riff, or they'll just be like an old riff and they'll like try different effects on it, and then Julian will just like a cappella on it and just start singing random stuff, and some of it sounded mad, and he just like had his little like dials and he was just like auto-tuning his voice and he was just singing over the top of it, and everyone was just grooving out, and I was like, those were probably the highlights for me. I was like, damn, this is like I'm seeing them how they write music. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. He wasn't too fucked up.
No, he was on point. Like, I mean, he could tell they are able to do that. They're very conditioned to like just be super messed up and play their songs. I heard that he actually, from what I've seen, he did a better show for us at the Sydney solo show than he did for Splendor, because there was some things that they left out of the Splendor set, and there's some things that he leaves. There's some little like ad-libs and stuff that he does in some songs that people know about that he left out on some songs on his Splendor set. So I feel pretty privileged to have been able to see that. And everything was on point. Like, everyone was just killing it. It was a good venue to listen to. Tyler, the Creator venue was great audio-wise, but I don't know, it was a bit... It's kind of one of those... maybe because he didn't have anyone else on the stage with him, no hype man or anything like that. He had cool visuals, but
he's carrying the show himself.
It felt completely a bit empty for such a big venue.
Because even solo artists usually have people on stage. Like even Lady Gaga, she's got dancers and stuff's going on.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she brought up a good point. It's probably because his set and everything was for Splendor, and this is a sideshow, so he's not bringing the production he would, full crew and everything like that he would if he was just doing a touring show. So that makes sense in my eyes. Both of them were kind of just, you have to kind of travel light when you're doing a festival show. Yeah. You don't have a lot of room to set up like a crazy, extravagant stadium thing. It's just like a little stage or a big stage, but So he had good visuals, I can imagine, for a festival.
Epic.
But, yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Damn. All right, I'm jelly that you got to see them, but it sounds awesome. And I'm glad that really COVID didn't fuck you before you went.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I've been dodging it for a long time, and yeah, I'm sure that's where I got it from. It was worth it.
And I'm saying, imagine you got it that weekend and you couldn't go to
Well,
both.
you know, the Strokes actually came about very randomly because my cousin, I wanted to see them. I looked up the tickets like months ago, and the tickets were a little bit too pricey for me, and I was like, I think I'll pass. And then my cousin hit me up like 2 days before the show, and he's like, hey, you want to see the Strokes? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Damn.
So he had apparently already had tickets. His mate dropped out, and I moved my stuff around, and we organized it, and we're gonna go. And then he hits me up the morning of, and he goes, Dipesh, I have COVID. And I go,
oh.
And he's like, you can have the tickets if you want. I'll just pay for one, or I'll try and get like a reimbursement. I'm like, let me see what I can do. I hit up my girlfriend, and she luckily was free as well. And so we both went to a show that we both weren't really ready to go to. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of spontaneous.
And
it was awesome because I can check them off the list now, and it's and their last album. I love their last album, even though it came out in like 2020. I was bumping that strong for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very good album. It was very, very The Strokes. So but the thing is, the set list, they weren't touring that album. They were, I guess, had a greatest hits type of set for Splendor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, but it was great. It was a mashup.
Okay, yeah, they're always going to play something of the good stuff,
Yeah.
You Devo, if they're like, we just play the album straight and nothing. People would be pissed.
I'd be happy with that. It was a great album, but then they weren't touring for that album, so that's okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's strange. I don't even know where to look. Like, I want to look at you on the screen, but then at the same time, I want to address the viewers and you.
Yeah,
so
I got to look at the camera when I'm addressing the viewers, but then I'm looking at you and you're on my right. So I've set it up so it's like exactly like the podcast. So I'm on the left, you're on the right.
I should have put you on a little external screen to my right, so I can just do that. Do it to you. Talk to you like that.
Oh wait, it's mirrored for me. I'm like this.
You got the Batman turn happening. You had the shoulders involved and everything.
That's like Michael Keaton. That's Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. They didn't have the neck part. It was just the whole from the head cowl right to the shoulders.
I've just seen the video where he's a compilation of just the compilation of Batman turning his head.
Yeah, dude. Imagine like trying to turn your head. That's like a full neck brace.
It'd be so uncomfortable.
You just force your shoulders to twist with you.
It looks so bad. Whoever designed it.
Oh yeah. Before we start, dude, behind me I've got my my little Tazo case that I was talking about.
Oh yes.
On the last episode.
Who's on top again?
What's his name?
The Space Jam dude.
It's the green alien. I can't remember what the green alien's name is. But oh wow, I have not noticed that. But little Bugs Bunny heart popping out for Lola Bunny on the back there.
If
everyone, I'm sure
every boy, something was awoken by Lola Bunny.
Oh, no doubt, dude.
She was like fat, bro. She was like fat with a PH in that movie, and I was like, I felt it. I'm like, something clicked for me, and I was like, why is she 100%. So sexy? Why is she so sexy?
Had way too much sex appeal. And as a kid, you're just like, God damn, I understand. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I understand.
Yeah, your boy is wrecked now.
Then didn't they like dumb it down for the new Space Jam
fucked
movie?
it up. The original was so good, even though fucking Michael Jordan was a joke in that film. He was so bad when you look at his acting. It's like so shit.
Oh, I mean, I think who was the new NBA player on the new one?
LeBron James.
Yeah, he's not any better as well. And I hate when sports stars are in movies. They're so bland. It's so weird. You can just tell they're just reading a line. It's so weird. It takes you straight out of the movie.
It's just like, shut your mouth, man. Just have him voiced by someone else.
Yeah. Even when they're on ads, dude, you're like, oh, how many takes was that? And that was the best one you got.
Yeah, I know. It's so shit.
Just takes you out.
So the first topic I had today was something I think is interesting. We've never spoke about it on the podcast before, so I thought it was cool. So I want to talk about, I did some research and a bit of things into float tanks. Like float tanking, like, the body sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
So I just give a little bit of background for everyone if you don't know. The idea of the float tank was invented in 1954. After hours of floating around, John Lilly became to experience the first vivid hallucinations and imagery that was too personal to share on the record. So John Lilly was the guy who invented it, and he came up with, I believe it was a way to... I don't know if it was with the CIA or 100% or what he was doing, but I know the CIA were once it became known what it could do, they were doing mad experiments with MK Ultra and stuff like that with float tanking. Yeah. So just doing, so the quick facts I came up about with just doing REST, which is called restricted environmental stimulation, including therapy, alone has shown to stop people to get people to quit smoking completely in 25% of test subjects, just doing the floats and nothing else. So I feel like there's something going on there. When I was doing the research, was there's something that it unlocks in the human brain that we just don't understand.
It's very interesting.
What interests me is the hallucinations I felt. Why do you think they come about?
I think that you get to a point where, and also I guess it depends if you choose to do it in a fully pitch black environment. Sometimes I think some of them have ambient lighting and stuff.
Yeah, some UV light. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, but I think maybe what comes about is you're so confronted with your thoughts that I think you're actually going to essentially project them, and because you don't know if your hand's in front of your face, it's so pitch black. It's almost like you're just in an endless void, right? So it's kind of like you'll be I can imagine it's tricking the brain into dreaming, right? Because if you have your eyes shut, why does your brain... Who's to say that shutting your eyes is what triggers you to go into dream mode? What if it's just pitch black?
Yeah, the pitch blackness is
at nighttime is what's helping you go pitch black, right? So I can imagine if no sound and you're just floating and you're not moving, so you're not using any muscles, and your eyes are open, your brain goes, oh, well, the body's asleep, we're asleep, and then you're also just thinking right up into that point. I think you just drift into this weird realm of dream and awake, and that's probably why you're having hallucinations. I've seen a video, funnily enough, some guy did it, and he wasn't taking it seriously, and by hour 3, he's crying and having all these memories about his grandma and all that sort of stuff.
3 hours is a long time, though, to be in there. But, he's crying.
You saw the stages. The first hour is still joking, and he's bouncing off the walls as he's floating around. He's making stupid jokes, not taking it seriously. And I think you see the time counter, and he's just chopping up the video. And there's just a moment where he's just silent, and he's just talking about his grandma. And then there's just the moment where he's silent, and he just starts crying and just starts reminiscing about his grandma. And it's I can imagine, man, you just, it's like when those people go to those communes overseas, I think with monks, and they do a vow of silence for a year. And what essentially that's doing is making you stay in your head and confront your thoughts, because you're not distracting with speech and talking to people. And that's why people that go away come back knowing what they want in their life, because they've processed every single thought that they've been pushing away for so long. And I think it's just therapy, right? Yeah.
It is a form of therapy.
Pushing away.
Yeah, but what's interesting to me is once you start taking away the sense of the touch, I know I did a lot of research, and I read a lot of people firsthand encounters with what was happening, and they said the minutes that they would get you start seeing the flashing and the spots on the eyes, when you close your eyes real hard and you kind of press on your eyes and you get the flashing. So if I meditate long enough, I've been able to feel I've only had a couple amazing experiences when meditating. And one time I was sitting on my bed and I started seeing full-on visions, and I was like, whoa, it happened so quick and so scary that I jumped out of it.
Jeez, really?
I don't know if I regressed or I had like a meditation thing, but I was listening to some like hypnotic sounds and doing something, but I saw a vision. I'll explain that in a bit later. But what I get usually is that I feel like I'm coming out of a tunnel. Like I get these lights that go like zoom, zoom around my head like that, and they just get faster and faster. And then it feels like I'm coming out of like a deep tunnel. Is what it feels like every time I've done the meditation properly, and that's the light sensation I get. But what they mentioned was that when whoever was in the float tank, they start seeing all these amazing intricate geometrical circles and patterns, and then faces start appearing and stuff like that. But the minute they touch the side of the tank, they get snapped out of it. They're like, oh, they realize that once they have the perception of the body. So they said the float tank needs to be pretty big. And if you're a bigger guy, like over 6 foot, then it's really hard because not all tanks are very big. So you got to either have a custom one or whatever. I've heard that the what do you call it? The sanitation though is pretty bad on these.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not changing the water very frequently, and there's very little chemical in it. It's just salt, and so you're just bathing in other people's salty bath juice. It's pretty disgusting. Apparently.
Right. Well, I guess you'd want to kind of just have a shower immediately after and scrub yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, though. I don't know. So studies have been conducted to test the effect of sensory deprivation on the brain. One study took 19 volunteers, all of whom tested in the lower upper 20th percentiles on the questionnaire that measures the tendency of healthy people to see things not really there, and placed them in a pitch black soundproof booth. So did that make sense, what I just said? So
are you saying...
They tested low on the psychotic symptoms of like people that see things that aren't there. So, some people are like, I was really close to, I almost fell asleep one day and I saw someone run in the house. When you start getting real sleepy or something like that, you can see things, But these people all tested super low. And they placed them in a pitch black soundproof booth for 15 minutes, after which they completed another test that measures psychosis-like experiences originally used to study recreational drug users. 5 subjects reported seeing hallucinations, 6 reported seeing faces and shapes not actually there, and 4 noted a heightened sense of smell, and 2 reported sensing an evil presence in the room.
Wow.
People who scored lower on the first test experienced fewer perceptual distortions. However, they still reported seeing a variety of hallucinations. Many studies have conducted to understand the main cause of hallucinations, and considerable evidence has been accumulated indicating that long periods of isolations aren't directly related to levels of experienced hallucinations. So it's like the longer you do it, the more it doesn't indicate you'll experience more of it.
Okay. It's just if you're susceptible to it and if in the right conditions.
Yeah, that's
it. Just comes on.
So schizophrenics appear to tend to experience fewer hallucinations while in the sensory deprivation tank.
That's interesting.
Right? You think it'd be the opposite. Their brain would be hyper-triggered to do it. But no, it's like as compared to non-psychotic individuals. A possible explanation for this could be that non-psychotic individuals are normally exposed to a greater degree of sensory stimulation in everyday life. And in REST, which is the, what was it? What did I say it was called? The restricted environmental stimulation, including therapy. Sorry, I lost my spot. The brain attempts to recreate a similar level of stimulation, producing the hallucinatory events. So it's like your brain's trying to recreate what it normally senses. That's what they think is causing it.
What I would guess for the schizophrenic people would maybe be that they don't really have the social... that's not really the right word, but they don't essentially have a filter within themselves to push away any thoughts that they that people that aren't schizophrenic would have. So if things that are like everyday human are putting away and they're not addressing straight away, schizophrenic people might just be constantly having these crazy things happening in their head all the time. So they're constantly processing things So when it comes time to actually reflect and be in these situations, they've reflected. They've already processed a bunch of stuff. But people that I guess are constantly pushing things away, that's just building up a little memory bank of things that they've got to sort out as soon as they get in this situation, right?
Yeah. What I'm thinking as well, it could be potentially is that it's like this sensory environment gets messed up for them. So, they're experiencing, like when they experience reality, it's different reality to what we experience. Like their brain is like, untreated for a long time to develop into that condition. But it's maybe once the stimulation is taken away, they're less likely to experience the false reality because it's just less stimulation. That's what I'm thinking as well. Could be that. According to a 2009 study published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, the hallucinations are caused by the brain misidentifying the source of what is currently experiencing and the phenomenon called faulty source monitoring. A study conducted on individuals who underwent rest while the effects of PCP, which is phencyclidine, showed a lower incidence of hallucination in comparison to participants who did not take PCP. So if you took PCP and went into the chamber, you experienced less hallucinations than if you took PCP and went in. How weird is that?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Is it because when you're on drugs, what you're getting stimulated by is getting warped? But if you're not getting any stimuli, nothing can get warped. So your brain's kind of like...
But you think under the effects of drugs... Yeah, kind of. But you think under the effects of drugs, your brain would create more crazy stuff. That's how I would assume.
I don't know, because I can picture like if you were high watching a show, it'd be different as opposed to just lying in your bed staring at the ceiling high. I feel like you'd have a complete different time, One's going to be as it is, probably laughing or dazed out or zoned out on the TV, and the other one will be like you'll just be in your head, not really enjoying the trip, but you'd be kind of just like in your head, and it wouldn't be as magnified because you're not getting all these different inputs from anything. This is just an assumption.
Yeah, totally. That's an interesting thought, I think. And who knows? Like, who really knows how the brain works? So it's like we can all just assume, and we don't have really a degree in it. So it's like, is it real or is it like fucking? Is it real or bad?
There's one person with a degree in this field listening to our podcast because we attract scientists, and they're just like, I got to get on this show and teach these boys a few things.
Yeah, I know, right? Come on over. We'll have you any day. Do you think that the experiences are good or bad to have on the brain? Like, say, to go in the sensory deprivation, do you think it's good for you or bad to like trigger your brain to go into that state? Let's say it's a one-off.
One-off, and we're talking like 2-3 hours?
Let's say, whatever you're comfortable with. 2-3 hours, let's say.
I'd say there's probably a time limit, but I reckon it could be very beneficial to do it once. After that, I don't know what you'd be doing because I feel like it's more of a chance to reflect, right? It's to process.
Yeah, but
without any distractions.
Well, it could be a form of meditation where, you could go to a monk and go, well, meditating once is enough forever. They might say, well, you need to meditate constantly because you constantly have new things happen.
Yeah, it's probably, I can only talk from personal experience, but I can imagine like there's just things in everyone's life that they've probably put aside, and I can imagine it's a good chance once you get your mundane thoughts out of your head and you're thinking about random stuff and all this sort of stuff, and you finally get to a point where you're really in deep thought. I think it can be very beneficial.
I think so too. I think I've got a voucher. My siblings bought me a voucher.
Oh wow!
Oh shit! 1 sec. My siblings bought me a voucher to go and do one, and I thought that was cool. But I'm not going to do it until I get out of DPDR. I think forcing myself to have psychotic experiences are not good for my mental health while I don't feel grounded in my sense of reality at the moment.
Daniel, I'll stop you right there just real quick. Yeah, I don't think you've actually ever addressed on the podcast what you have. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll talk about it, of course. So a while ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I developed what's called derealization disorder, depersonalization disorder. And I got it from a very intense experience that traumatized me and caused me to jump out of your body to dissociate. It's a dissociation disorder. And it's called a disorder when you experience it more. It's for more than 1 month at a time. And it's if you experience it for longer than 1 month, then it's considered the disorder. So it's just a dissociation disorder, but it's a very normal experience. So what you're experiencing is normal. Like everyone can experience it. Like if you go in a car accident or something like that. People say they feel out of body or time went really fast, time went really slow. Picture that, or if you've ever had that experience, but it's constant. And it's getting better, but it's still at the point where it's there, and I do notice it's there. And I'm just still working on getting through it, but it is something you fully recover from in some point in time, depending on how good the effect, how low you can get the stress in your life. For me, it's the stress was so high in my life that your body perceives it as everywhere, and your body then dissociates you all the time because it cannot pinpoint where the stress is coming from. For me, the stress was a lot of internal stuff that was going on for me. And then your body starts to fear itself, fear its own reality, stuff like that. So for me, I feel now like I'm always dreaming, but it's uncomfortable, but totally bearable. And it's just something I'm temporarily experiencing. It's not something that's going to last forever. But I'm not going to probably push my brain into these crazy, deep meditative states until I'm quite grounded. I'm sure once I get out and everything's back to normal, it'll be fully I'm totally on board. But I have got a coupon that's I think I've got a couple of years to use it. So hopefully can use it. Yeah, hopefully can use it to, I know they got it from, it might be good. Honestly, it might be good for me to do it because relaxation, but I find I can relax fine with meditation.
I think you could go in two very different directions, and unfortunately you just would have never know. Because we've never experienced that before. That reminds me, and I remember hearing about this in high school, so I don't actually really know too much about it, but you might know. But there's this experiment called the Ganzfeld Experiment. A receiver is placed in a room, relaxing in a comfortable chair and having ping pong balls over their eyes, having a red light shone on them. The receiver also wears a set of headphones through which white and pink noise is played, which is essentially static. The receiver is in this state of mild sensory deprivation for half an hour. During this time, a sender observes a randomly chosen target and tries to mentally send the information to the receiver. The receiver speaks out loud during the 30 minutes, describing what he or she can see. This is recorded by the experimenter, who is the blind target, either by recording onto a tape or taking notes. So I think you can essentially trick your brain into to do ESP, or I think people have crazy hallucinations if you were to just chop a ping pong ball in half, put it over your eyes, put the static on, and have a red light shining on you. Damn. So it's like a quick way to do. Sorry, go for it.
Did they have any positive results from saying it's working?
I haven't looked into why the test was originally conducted. I just remember reading up on the effects on what happens when you were to do something like that. So I think the original one I remember seeing was this old dude, and there's just a picture of him. And for those of you watching, Daniel will chuck a couple of images on the screen. You can look it up yourself. There's a bunch of images of people. It kind of looks kind of silly because They got these white.
It looks like the tanning salon shit where they wear those little glasses and they.
It's kind of freaky looking.
Yeah.
And it's all just lit up in red. And I think it happened in the 70s. Was the first.
This is some MK Ultra shit, man. I read about them doing this I read about them doing this in MK Ultra, where they would do the sensory deprivation take and try and project and do ESP, and try and go to another location, and they would do all crazy shit. Hey, did you ever hear the story about the time that the CIA tried to trick? So they had a guy who claimed he could. They had a guy, and apparently the results were pretty high of him doing ESP and mind projecting into another location. What do they call that? Remote viewing. That's it. When they try and project their mind into another location, right? And they had so they had a guy who was really good at it, and they claimed he could do it with something like 70% accuracy. It was good, like really high. I remember the notes on it, and it was like CIA documents, all redacted shit on it, all over it. So I think it's on the FBI website. You can actually look this up. And they had if I can find it, I'll put it up. But if they tried to trick the guy, they would give him latitude and longitude coordinates like that random and go, put your mind into these coordinates and do it. Like he wouldn't know what the coordinates linked up to, but they would just tell him. And one time they tried to trick him and sent the coordinates to Mars and, and said, well, let's see what he's going to do. And the first thing he does is like, it's complete desert. Like I cannot see anything. There's no people. It's nothing. It's forever like a dust storm. And he's like, okay, so go to a time where there are people. And he's like, I'm going back thousands of years ago. And he's like, talking back, he's like, okay, I'm meeting some people, and they're like, who are they? And he's like, they're really tall and they don't look human. And they go, okay.
So calm about this as well. This guy,
So, but he's like in a dream state.
So it's okay.
But, he's more like getting he doesn't really get a clear image of them. It's more the sense, I think. And he's asking them, and then he's talking to them. And they go, well, they can see me. And he's like, okay, talk to them. And he goes, communicate with them however you can. And he's like, okay, I'm trying. And then communicates with them. And they're like, they're dying. Their species is like... is like their home is dying, and they can't fix it, and they've sent people to come get to find a new place for them to stay, but they haven't come back. And he's trying to talk to them, and he's like, describe what you see. It's like massive structures, like pyramids and stuff, and huge
holy crap,
massive, like gargantuan. They're big. These people are big, and he just talked to them for a bit. And they go, okay, like, what's happening? And then he's like fast forwards in time, and he's like, they didn't make it. They couldn't get out. And a lot of people died, and it's a lot of sadness, and they're just praying for hope. But like the technology is not there for them. That's what he experienced. And then they pulled out and were like, thought it was going to be a huge joke. Like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because he, doesn't really know how to mind project. But then when they sent him there, everyone was like, that gif of Steve Harvey where he's like,
yeah, that's shit, kind of freaky, dude. You need to send me that article because I need to listen to that. But what's hard to understand is like, how do you give someone latitude and longitude?
And then they just go there
without them. Well, the latitude and longitude is for Earth. So
I know. I think they just gave him like universe coordinates, maybe. They just showed him because there are coordinates for the universe as well. When I said latitude and longitude, it might be in retrospect, not to just Earth. It might be retrospect to the universe. They just gave him a bunch of numbers and go here. Is what I could understand.
That's cool, man. I need to read up on that because that's freaky as. And imagine like that race were the giants that were on Earth that we suspect.
Who knows? But this was thousands of years ago. He said, I don't know however many thousands. I think a lot. I got to find the story. It was so interesting when I read it too. And I thought these guys are probably like, I'm going to trick him and we're going to get him. And then he's like, oh shit. He like knew what's up. Like, cool, right?
Like, we need to go right.
Redacted. No. Yeah, neuralize the shit out of him. Look here, sir.
Dude, all this discussion about, I guess, sensory deprivation and simulation has got me thinking of something I want to talk to you about, and that is because I recently watched the latest Matrix movie the other day.
Right.
I won't.
You can totally spoil it for me. I don't give a fuck. I don't know. I'm never going to see it. I do not care.
Because I don't know if any of our listeners haven't seen it, and I guess it is quite a new movie, so I won't talk about it too much. Overall,
just talk about it. People don't care. They can see it. Talk about it. I want to know.
Well,
I'll give a timestamp. I'll give a timestamp if they want to skip this.
The reason I'm bringing it up, not so much to discuss the movie itself, but to discuss something in the movie that I found, which I found very funny. So, the movie ends the same way the first one does, in the same way where they use the same song, but it's not by Rage Against the Machine. It was by some. Oh, I just remember hearing the riff come in. Yeah, and then it was a female singer. I'm like, what? So you're going to use the same song, but then a different vocalist? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I looked it up. Who did the song at the end of Matrix Resurrections, and it was by a band called Brass Against. When I looked at the band Brass Against, it was just all these articles about the vocalist, whose name is Sophia Arista, and there were all these articles because of an incident that she supposedly did on stage, which I'm about to send you a link. Try not to read anything. Just scroll down and play this video, and I want to get your reaction on the podcast while you're watching this thing pop up.
Hey,
it's a short video. Just hit that link and then go straight down to the video and start playing. And it's just funny that this is all that pops up when you search up this band.
I just see a woman fucking fingering her pussy.
No. Whoa, what?
See, it's gonna be blurred out. It's gonna be blurred out. This is what came up on my screen, bro.
What? Are you serious?
I swear to God.
Why is that popping up?
Well,
even the thumbnail.
Oh, here we go. Oh, okay, yeah, I got it now.
Was it like an ad or something?
Yeah, I must have clicked one of those not click buttons. She's taking off her pants at the concert.
Yeah.
Oh, is she pissing on someone? Oh my God! Oh no, she's pushing out a shit. Oh no! No! There's so much. Oh my God!
It's gushing out.
No! Oh my God!
How she is giving it to him. Wow. So
to just summon that on command is pretty full on. To be able to just summon that on command.
In the video.
Okay, so it's clearly that singer, and she's like, it's a vertical video of someone's filming at the concert, and she's in some sort of really tight leather pants, and she starts pulling them off, and there's a guy just on the floor like T-posing, and then she just squats over him and just with her fucking just showers him with piss, and there is so much coming out. It is like high pressure. You can tell she's straining to get it out.
You can do like
and the guy is just like, fuck. What is your life coming to when you're that guy?
Dude, he was enjoying it, and the worst part is I listened to it with audio, and there must be some part in the song where it's about to like take off, and there's a mad build up, and she's pissing, and there's a build up, and then as soon as she finishes, the guy like fist bumps in the air when the beat drops, and he's shaking his head, all his pisses coming off, and she's just walking away, pulling her pants up, and I was just like, to search up a band to be like, who are these guys? And then just have articles about the lead singer, and she had to give this apology. Oh, sorry, I got carried away. I really needed to go. If you needed to go, why was there a guy underneath you on stage? And
Nah, dude,
I just thought
she's
that was hilarious.
filthy. I feel like that chick is filthy, man. So what, they just do covers of Rage Against the Machines?
I think they have their own songs, but they're very much like Greta Fleet Van. Like, they just sound like Rage Against the Machine. Instead of like, it starts off maybe having a passion of covers for a band, and then you just end up sounding like the band and creating songs that I guess sound like that band's notable sound.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, well, especially because their name is like Brass Against.
Brass Against. So I was like, you're not away from it enough, so you might as well just be a Rage Against the Machine cover band.
You just be a cover band, but I feel like that's so lame when you're just a cover band. I know it's hard to make originals, but like knowing yourself as just a cover band is pretty crap.
Like, I think you'd rather be a cover band than be a band that sounds too close to a band that's like known for a specific sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
man,
dude, that was actually shocking. Because I did not know anything about this band, and then for that to pop up, wow. So obviously,
that's the first video you found on him.
Well, I just typed in the band's name, and there was just articles about her, and I'm like, what's up with this chick? And then I looked into one of the articles. I was like, oh, whoa, I need to see this video. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, wow. Okay. I don't know if we can bring it up on the screen. Even if we do, maybe bring it up and blur the shit out of it. Okay. Just so you can kind of see with the haze. For those of you watching, if you want to watch it, look it up yourself. I mean, it's not that crazy. Hopefully you don't get what Daniel got as a pop-up ad.
That was cooked. That was just popped straight up.
I had sent him something wrong. I was like, whoa.
Well, that just was full on. Like, whoa, that's the first time that's happened in years for me, like that intense of a pop-up. Like, where sometimes you just just browsing the internet, and then your dad's like in the room, and you're like, click something, you're like, nope. Sorry, Dad.
Whoa!
Like,
yeah.
It's the really pop-ups.
Oh, wow.
So I got a bit of an offbeat second topic, but I think we should transition to something different. So I thought a question I thought was cool to ask you, and I was like, if you could pick another language, what would you pick and why? If you could learn another language, if you could learn another language, if you could learn another language, what would you pick and why?
I have thought about this, and two things come to mind. One, it depends where I'm going to be living for the majority of my life.
Sure.
Or two, if it's like a country that I love to visit, that makes sense to learn the language of that country. I feel like I'm going to probably stay in Australia for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any inkling to move to another country unless obviously things change. But I don't know. I feel like if I were to learn another language, it may be like Chinese. Dialect of Chinese, a very generic dialect.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Just because I feel like so
many people, like a massive portion of the population does speak Chinese, like of the world, it's a massive population. Though India have overtaken China in population now, I believe.
That's cool. The thing is with India, I mean, and with China as well, the thing is, I guess with China, there's larger areas that speak the same dialect, and a lot of foreign Chinese people that go to that are in like Australia and stuff have main like dialects. Where with India, like every freaking region is completely different. I can't understand anyone else other than my region, or slightly can understand kind of neighboring regions, but barely at all.
I've heard that's the case when I googled that as well.
Countries. Yeah, it's almost like India is like made up of little countries. That's what I would explain it as. And other countries, they all have different dialects, and Italians can be like, the southern people can't understand northern people, but it's not that different. Like
I know
the
in
language is
Croatia,
kind of
my
just
grandma said the same
changed.
thing. Like, she can understand pretty much every single dialect of Croatian. It's not that different.
Yeah.
While
It would be like a massive difference in pronunciation, maybe, or maybe a word might change. But overall, I'm sure you could probably understand in European countries overall if you were to travel anywhere within the country. But a place like India is like, it's like a complete different country as soon as you go to a different region. So that's, learning a certain Indian dialect would be tough. It's like you just have to learn Hindi, which is like the generic one, which is speaken in popular states of India, and I guess is the generic language. But in Chinese, you'd have to pick a generic dialect like Cantonese or Mandarin.
Mandarin,
even though
Canton.
there's so many other dialects
or like traditional Chinese or something.
Fujianese or Teochew or something like that, if I pronounce it right. But yeah, I think it's not like my worry is that China's going to take over the world and I want to be ready. It's just like I feel like that's going to be the easiest language to utilize more often.
I think so too. I think I would do the exact same thing. I think it'd be some sort of Chinese, but I'd probably end up learning. Honestly, probably learn Croatian first, just because then I can talk to all my family, and I want to go there.
Sure.
And I already know a little bit. That would probably be a main one I'd wanted to learn. But yeah, other than that, I think Chinese would, honestly, even today, other than talking to my family, who not all of them speak Croatian, very little do. And it's like extended family that I've never met. So it's like, I'm never really going to talk to you. I feel like even today,
but it's cool,
in today's life,
you'll visit, and then at least when you visit, you'll be able to just be straight into the city and just be talking and doing all the sorts of, because it's culture, man. Like, you'll know what everything in Croatia is. You just want to be able to talk about it. You know, you want to order a dish that you like that your grandma cooks or something. You'll know what it is, but to be able to have that conversation with a Croatian, and when you speak Croatian, is there any dialects of Croatian?
There are. There's like Bosnian and Bosnian's like the very traditional, old school, like formal one that most people speak. I think there's a couple others. I think Macedonia is actually pretty similar. Serbian has got Serbian's similar. You can understand each other, but they have completely different written languages. And I do not know what dialect my grandparents speak, but if you just say Croatian, pretty much everyone would get it. It's probably some really specific name that I don't know. But I know we went to church once when I was a kid, and my dad can speak fluent Croatian, and he went into church and he comes out at the end of the church and goes, I maybe understood 2 words of what he said. I was like, whoa, I thought you understood the whole thing. He's like, nah, I could not understand it. And I was like, oh, okay, so it can be that different for you. But my grandma said, I can understand it all. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But
that generation man. They speak it thick. Like I can understand everything my mum says, but when my grandma gives me a call, I feel like I don't understand a word she's saying. Like, she's speaking so fluent. I'm like, it's like a different language to me. Where if my mum's speaking to me, she might speak to me more simplified, or she uses broken. For those people that don't know, I'm Gujarati, so I speak. I'm from, like, my family's from Gujarat, the region of India. It was kind of a west of India, and we speak Gujarati. And my mum and dad grew up in England, so they have very, I guess, Australian English accents, but they speak fluent Gujarati, and they just, I guess, mix it up at home. They can't speak broken English, and
it ends up being that way. You fuse it together, because my one word might describe something very specifically better than one other way.
Yeah.
So,
and it's an old language, so there's a lot of words when you're having modern conversations that don't translate. There's no word for, like, robot, something like that. So you kind of just have to mix it up anyway.
I love when you're hearing the oldies around the house talking, and they'll just be like, da 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 da, so talking another language. Then it's like a big W, and then it's just like very clearly like, yes.
That's so funny, dude.
So I think, though, I would straight up pick Chinese. Like, if I was to honestly pick one now and I go, what do I think will be most useful to me? Chinese, man.
Yeah.
Because so many people in my area speak Chinese, and so many people in Sydney speak Chinese. Like, you go to shops and it's like there's Chinese symbols on everything pretty much. And so I feel like if you could speak Chinese, you'd be ahead in the game in Sydney specifically. You'd be like, wow, you're killing it. But I came across this question because I saw a video, and I want to ask you. It was about this white guy who looks like a 2000s skater in his 20s or 30s, and think of like Rob Dyrdek. You know what he looks like? The skater
sounds familiar.
He's an old skater he was in like the Tony Hawk games and stuff.
I think
just like skater vibes. Picture that. He's got the cap. He's got the black. He's got like the band T-shirt on. Lots of tattoos. And he has a doctorate in Chinese, and he lives in China, and he would go around the streets talking to people in Chinese and asking them how to pronounce certain words, and they didn't know. And he'd be like schooling these motherfuckers on Chinese, and they're like, who the fuck's this white guy can like speak mad Chinese? Like, what the hell?
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen some of those videos on YouTube where like a guy would just like be learning a language, he can just absorb it, and like he'll go to those little pockets in the communities and just randomly start talking to them and then get their reaction. They're like, what?
Yeah.
This guy can just speak Chinese?
Yeah. So I know a lot of those polyglot guys do that, but they might be real broken they might know one or two languages real well, but then the rest they have a very basic understanding. And that's really cool that their brains work like that. But this guy was like, amazing. Like I speak English, but if you told me to break down the English language, like how a sentence start, what's that part of a sentence called, what's this section, like the derivative of a sentence, then this and this, I would not know. I can speak it fine, but to understand the language at that high doctor level, it would be like, no way. But this guy did in just Chinese. The only language he spoke was Chinese and English. And he was like, he sounded fully American when he spoke. He kind of sounded slightly Southern. But he would just go up and be like, what's this word? And then they'd be like, Tubong or Tubong. And he'd be like, nope, every time. And maybe 1% of the people could actually get it right. And he'd be like, this is the proper way you say it. They're like, everyone's looking at him like, what the fuck? Like, but what I think was so weird is that, our society is so multicultural here in Australia, but then you have the really reclusive parts of the other world where it's like you can see a white guy talking Chinese and it's like a spectacle. Oh my God, look at him. He knows Chinese. And no, you come here and it's like all the Chinese people can speak English.
Yeah.
It's really weird, I think.
Sure. And I think a hard part about a lot of ethnic languages comes down to pronunciation as well, not just even learning the language, but our tongues. I think, in my instance, speaking to different people from different cultures, I've been able to imitate a lot of different words, and it might be because of my dialect or just because, as you know, I do a lot of voices and stuff for fun. Maybe I was able to move my mouth around to imitate the sounds. But for straight up English speakers, I can imagine things like Chinese or some Indian languages and stuff would be so hard to imitate. Like some people can't roll their R's, and that's in some languages, or there's sounds that just don't exist in the English language that exist. I mean, for instance, mine, there's like 3 types of D sounds, D, but it's not D. It's like, and they're very subtle, but you know when to use them. But to the English ear, it would all sound the same.
Yeah. For instance,
that's probably where a doctorate comes in.
Yes, but you got to have the ear for it. So low-key brag, I did a test a while ago, and it was to test the quality of how sensitive your ears were to pitch. And you wear headphones and you listen to a pitch, and you got to say whether it's higher or lower than the next one. And it got real hard, where at the end it's like a quarter semitone, like an eighth or a 64th of a tone difference. So it's just like, and it was like so similar. So you hear beep, beep, then you hear beep, boop, 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 and you hear stuff like that. And I got I got 99th percentile, 29 out of
Wow.
29 out of 30 correct. I can hear the difference between a 64th of a tone, which is like, it was so similar I could barely perceive it, but I did it. And so I actually have I think I've got pretty good ear for when I can hear when people are saying things differently. But I know, for instance, when I try to explain, like a lot of people sometimes ask me how to say in Croatian, thanks, and it's hvala. And a lot of people struggle with that word because the word is spelled H-V-A-L-A, hvala. So it's, when people, I explain it to them, they go fala. And I'm like, it's not fala, it's HV is the pronunciation. So it's like, her. Like, it's a very interesting way to say it, but it's such a common thing. Everyone's like, hvala lepa, which means like, thank you very much.
But isn't there also some Croatian characters?
No, it's English. Oh, there's like a C with a tick on it, which is like ch. So like C with a tick and then C with a dash is slightly different. It's like ch. You never say the word like, when you see a C, it's not usually k. It's a ch sound.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like, because like, for instance, with my dialect, we had Sanskrit. We have our own characters. So anything that you kind of explain to someone in English, even if you were to write it down, you're doing your best attempt to use English characters to make the sound, but sometimes they just don't exist. And there'll be a character, the language has its own alphabet because it has its own sound and stuff.
You write in English and Croatian, but the point I was trying to make was that I think that some people just have the ear, and some people are literally tone deaf to the sound. And, you know, I find a lot of Aussie people cannot pronounce and roll their R's, a lot of words. And I think that they are just simply tone deaf to the sounds that you are making. And it's not something trying to be ignorant. I just think that they literally just cannot perceive what you're saying, because there was a study done about kids and how well they can perceive differences in sound. I think 6 months is the key age of you adopt the language. 6 months old, even 9 months old. It was like you're already slowing down. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've always wondered that myself. Now that you bring that up, you know, with Australians and Americans, when you hear them like try and replicate someone's name, if it's a foreign name, or even just a type of a foreign food, if you were to say a food, they say it with their accent, which is so bizarre because it's like that, it's not an English word. So why wouldn't you copy the sound of how the person's saying it directly instead of listening to the sound and then trying to use your afflictions on it?
It might be just the people that, I think it's a combination of that they can't replicate the sound, and maybe they're embarrassed to try and pronounce it in the way that you're trying to pronounce it, because they might sound dumb or whatever. But it could be a possibility that they literally cannot understand what you're saying. It's that foreign to them that they're like, my brain will not work.
Yeah.
Because those polyglot guys are pretty talented.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, for sure. That reminds me of that Carl Barron set where he's like in America and he's asking for rolled oats.
Yeah.
And he's like, can I just get some rolled oats? And he's like, what? Rat-ats? And it's like, I guess, if the accent's hard and then you're also saying something, you're just going to try and process. Maybe they are, honestly, they're hearing the sound and they're trying to make English characters in their head and then spitting it out. And it's like, you just got to mimic the sound. You can't Englishify it. You just got to mimic the sound. It's like someone's name. Don't. Everyone pronounces my name in an Australian accent, so it's not pronounced the right way. But I find it's funny because, you know, a name isn't the way it's written. It's just the sound that you associate someone with. Yes,
and it's important, I think, to learn that person's specific sound.
Because, for sure, because it's not. Yeah, the person's name isn't the way it's spelt. It's the sound.
That's what they recognize it as. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always found that very, very funny when people do things like that.
But I've had friends go to America. I've had friends go to America and they're like, can I have some water? And they're like, what? And you're like, water. They're like, what? What? They're like losing it. And then you're like, water. And they're like, oh, yes, you want water. Yeah.
It's so funny. I mean, Americans are, I think, the most sheltered with anything cultural like that.
They are.
Like they can't even perceive. They can't even join the dots in their head. But it could be to education. Like they're just taught differently. It just sounds like they have a whole different education system, and it doesn't mean that they're dumb. It just means that
I
their
think
thinking process is very different to England and English, like Commonwealth countries.
I think as well, like, you think about how much of television we watch that's American, so we're already listening to a different accent all the time. And then, when they listen to their own television, it's, they're probably very rare that they'd watch Australian TV. And so when they hear it, probably so mind fuck for them. It's like, whoa, it sounds so weird. But when we hear Americans on TV, really we go, wow, that sounds so normal.
Yeah, because it's funny because, I can't speak for England and Canada or New Zealand, but Australia, I feel like super culturally influenced by America to the point where stereotypes were born in America come over here, and but then at the same time, that's a really good point you brought up. Like we're living amongst Australian culture, but we're absorbing American culture through media. But then at least we can make the difference in our head that, as things are Australian, and we know what British stuff is because we have that ancestry in Australia, and then we have all American input. So maybe, Americans are just listening to American shows. They're like stuck in their own echo chamber.
Yeah. Could be. But yeah, like, it's so interesting to like think that like the way the world works like that. I think it's so weird and like wonderful. Yeah,
for sure, man.
Dude, I think we're running out of time now. Honestly,
we're running out of time. Wow, I got one little video to show you here.
Yeah, let's show me. Show me.
I'll send it to you.
Send it to me.
It's not a crazy pop up again.
Am I going to get another pop up and just be like, oh my god?
This is a TikTok I found, and
another girl getting pissed on.
Yeah, I'm super into that lately.
Mid-Journey. This is the AI.
Yeah, so someone's asked the AI, what's the deepest kept secret of the world? And all these images are so freaky to me because, Daniel, you want to describe to the listeners what AI has generated with this question?
So it looks like it's an underworld city, and it's very horror-esque, sci-fi, fantasy, kind of H.P. Lovecraftian almost, and just underworld tech.
Like almost UFO underwater military bases.
Yeah, underwater, like old steampunk kind of military tech underneath the ocean. It looks like in deep caves. And that's kind of cool because it's like, but I wonder if it got confused because when you said, what's the deepest, wait, what did it say at the beginning? What's the deepest secret in the world? And then it confused deep with deep in the ocean.
Interesting, yeah, true. Because I find with a lot of AI stuff that is meant to be
the most closely held secret on Earth.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's pretty cool. I like that it came to that assumption because I find that a lot of spooky AI generated stuff that people bring up, when you look at the images, you can see how it's just the AI interpreting what people have said over many years and things like that, and it takes it very literally, and you can see that it's not really freaky, it's just like how people talk and the most searched up things and the most common phrases used. But this one freaked me out because I'm like, there's nothing really to elude that. No one's really talking about that and searching that stuff. It's almost like, what if the AI has access to all databases and it knows that this is super classified and it's bringing that up.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
Those talking about the UFOs flying into the water and stuff. I was like, wow, dude, what if it's like showing the UAPs just going straight underwater into these bases that are mass underwater under the oceans? Crazy.
And this, like, all the CIA are down there and they're like, oof, that was a close one, one, and we escaped.
Yeah. They're in their liminal spaces. They're in the back rooms.
No, I like that. I like that possibility. It's like, what if it's like gone so deep, the AI, that it's like accessing the CIA archives and it's like pulling the real info. No one knows.
No one knows, dude. I would love that because Google has its own AI now. What if it's like communicating with that? It's all linked.
Their one's exceptionally good as well. It's not like really lame or poorly done. Theirs is quite good. And on par with like some of the best, but you can't even test it. It's like not open to the public at all. While some of these, like I've got the Midjourney one, and I've got DALL-E 2, which is like the really good one. And maybe I'll post a couple up here and just show a couple of the crazy shit that I've made. But yeah, it's really cool to see where it's going to go from here and where this technology is kind of going to leave us. I feel like our jobs are going to be ruined soon.
I've already seen graphic designers implementing it in a cool way, but I don't see it going well in the long run for actual artists and stuff. And I mean, look, I know it's like a kind of thing like you're going to have very polarizing thoughts. It's like kind of like when photography came in and all the painters back in the day would have been like, what the hell? Like, you can just take a picture now instead of you're going to put all of our painters out of work now. People just taking
I would
photos.
say most painters are out of work.
But you know, the art's still there.
No one's hand drawing. No one's hand drawing in ad agencies anymore.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, but the thing is, that was like the job of a designer is just utilizing the new tools, right? But now you're taking the whole designer out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When it went from drawing on the thing to like using Letraset and scamping things up and all that sort of stuff. Now you're going, a lot of people go straight to digital. You're still the designer in charge of the tools, but now you're kind of really taking the designer itself out altogether. You just have someone pump something in. People won't even require the design.
That's what I mean. You'd be able to pump that out.
Yeah, that's what's freaky. So
and even photographers, like the one, the AI that I've been using, DALL-E 2, that shit looks photorealistic. Like I'll send you a couple pictures of like cats I've been able to generate. And it's like, it looks 100% real. You could not question it.
Yeah. You know what we should do next episode? That website, this person doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
We'll bring it. What we should do is we'll bring up, we'll get a bunch of stock photos of people like that actually exist and a bunch of people from that website that supposedly don't exist, and we'll try and test to see if we can see the difference between each one.
That's cool. Let's do that. Yeah. I know with pictures it's good. It's really good with pictures. And if you really train an AI to just do faces, it's amazing. But video is coming. But I feel like, the design, because I've even asked the AI to design posters for me, like vintage style posters of this brand or whatever, and it's like, wow, this is amazingly cool and like could be totally used, could be totally mocked up.
I saw one of a famous painting, and they said to extend the painting and in the same art style, and it looked like we had been seeing a crop version of a famous painting for all these years. Like it actually looked like the scene was extended, and it looked so legit. I was like, this is blowing my mind, dude.
I think it's called Uncrop. I think it's called Uncrop is the AI that does that one. It can just keep very expanding, freaky. And it's like, oh my God, it looks perfect.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So trippy. But yeah, cool. All right, man. I think that went chill. That was like really easy to do. I
think that was good. We made it work over the phone, and I hope that it wasn't too buggy for you listeners and watchers at home. We will probably be back in full swing on the next episode, so stay tuned for that. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Okay. Thank you, guys. We love you. And this has been Double Dose, special episode.
Take care. Don't get COVID.
Bye. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.